Okay, so today we are in another session of our podcast, Pixel and Perspectives AB. Today I'm honored to welcome Bob Bonniol. Bonniol?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct. I love that word. But this time it's something very special because we're still in ISC. This would be kind of like the third day of ISC. So we keep on moving forward with our interviews. And today we have a very special person, icon for innovation. Clearly, you can see that this is somebody that is a creative mind, and I am honored for you to be sharing this time with me here and with all of us. So, welcome, Bob. How are you doing?
You're very kind. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm doing very well. I'm kind of at a peak energy level here because ISC is happening. I'm seeing so many of my friends from around the world, and I'm getting to see customers, and I'm getting to see my colleagues and my peers, and I'm getting to see amazing new things. So
Perfect. I'm very happy to hear that. At the end of the day, we are pretty much at the end of this day in ISC. There's another day to go. But before we entered into more details about ISC, we would like to know a little bit more about your story. What's your origin? Where does Bob come from? What's the journey so far?
we could spend an entire podcast.
Yeah, I don't mind. Maybe we'll have to cut it a little short, but the audio will always be as original.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So just go ahead.
So I'm an ancient artifact in this business. I've been around for decades. It seems like it is literally. So it began for me when I was just beginning college. I grew up in Rhode Island in the United States, which is in the Northeast, in an area they call it New England. It was where sort of the United States began. And I was growing up, and this is the late 1980s.
Yeah.
So, and I was going to school at the time for political science, and my parents hoped that I would become a lawyer.
Oh.
And so that was maybe what I was, I didn't know what I was doing. I was 18, right? So, but it was the summer, it was 1987, and I needed work. Like any other 18-year-old, I needed money for the summer. So
Okay.
I heard that the local theater, which was called Trinity Repertory Company, needed spotlight operators.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I'd never been in a theater. I think I'd seen one play at that
Okay.
point in
At
my
that
life.
point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had a vague idea of what a spotlight was, mainly from watching Bugs Bunny cartoons. And like I knew that there was a circle of light that would seem to follow Bugs Bunny when he would sing on the stage. So I thought, how hard could that be?
Yeah.
So I went down to the theater, and I went to the box office, and I said, I hear you're looking for a spotlight operators. And I said, well, go talk to the head electrician. She's inside in the theater downstairs. So I walk into the theater, and I walk in, and I meet the most astonishing woman. Like I walk in the door, and I was struck like a thunderbolt immediately. Like, and because she came up to me, and she was extraordinarily beautiful and obviously in command of the theater. I
Okay.
could see it.
Okay.
And so she said, okay, yeah, the show opens tomorrow. And so I, kind of in desperate need. You've done this before, right? And I was like, oh, hundreds of times. Yes, I've done this many, many times. I lied through my teeth. So she said, here's the color for the spotlight. It's right up there. Go put the color in the spotlight, and then we're going to have a rehearsal. So I go up to the spotlight. About 15 minutes later, I come down from the spotlight, still with the color. And I said, well, I've never put the color in this particular kind of spotlight before. And she said, you've never done this before. And I said, I haven't, but I've dreamed of being in the theater, and this is my big break, and please, won't you teach me about lighting?
And by the way, you're beautiful.
And by the way, you're beautiful. So that woman is now my wife.
There you go.
It took me 12 years to get her to go on a date.
That's so nice.
But I was love at first sight. And at that point in her life, she had been on tour with U2 and Bruce Springsteen and Michael Jackson, and she was extraordinary. So, but what she did do that summer is she taught me about lighting. And she did it. She made me do the most menial tasks, cleaning the grid, fixing cables, taking lights apart and cleaning them and putting them back together.
Okay.
Just the basic stuff. And then at the same time, I also got a job at a rock club in Providence called the Living Room, and every British punk band and new wave band and music acts of all kind were coming through there, and I was learning how to run the lighting for a club at the time. So I was learning theater
Yeah.
and learning lighting for theater, and this theater was very experimental. So from the beginning, they were using film and slides and multimedia, and I was fascinated by that immediately. So at the club, I had found an old 16 millimeter projector, and I'd gotten all of these reels of like old corporate advertisements and films and just strange things I'd found. And because I wasn't so very good at the lighting to begin with, one thing I would do was turn the projector on and just spray the stage
Okay.
with film,
Okay.
and then also turn on the light. So I had by accident begun a practice of mixing, lighting and media,
Mm-hmm.
and then it grew from there. I eventually left Providence and I moved to New York City.
Yeah. Oh, the Big
And
Apple.
worked in the Big Apple and worked and did any kind of jobs I could find, fashion shows, music shows, dance shows, lots and lots of dance, which had a lot of multimedia. So my background in this industry is a little different from a lot of other people because I came to it from theater and from dance and from experimental art installation and from music, very much from
Yeah.
doing music at the same
Musicals.
time. Now, I eventually found my way into, I think, what a lot of the audience at ISE is more accustomed to, maybe, which is, more trade shows and conferences and corporate things. And eventually my career took me to a place where I was, the creative director for all of Chevrolet's and Cadillac's auto shows across the globe. I was, I went, ultimately, my practice took me to all the different parts of the industry, but in the beginning, it was very much rooted in theater. And I think that to this day, I think of this, what we are doing every time, whether we are in a hotel ballroom to listen to a CEO give a keynote, or whether we are in a theater to do a musical, or whether we are in an experimental art space, we are engaged in ritual,
Mm-hmm.
and we are engaged in bringing people together and opening their minds and maybe creating an opportunity to change them a little.
Okay, let's embrace change, definitely.
Absolutely.
So, in this case, in your eyes, what do you think, like individually, you bring to the table for this creativity AV world?
Well, like I said, my career did progress from there, and I very quickly found myself in the very mainstream AV world. Early on in New York City, I was working for vendors who were doing conferences and trade shows as well. I came into contact with some of the very earliest projectors, actually,
Okay.
like the General Electric Light Valve, which was one of the very very first big venue projectors. The old 3 gun projectors with the 3 color lenses.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
those.
yeah.
But if you ask a millennial, they don't know what that
Oh
is.
goodness gracious! No, they wouldn't know. Well, they've got whole different ideas about what this stuff is. But again, I kind of, and my wife who's here at the show with me, she was marveling at how big the industry has become. I mean, when we were doing these kind of shows back then, there were very very few resources and very very few people making the kind of equipment. We were basically taking equipment from broadcast and bending it to art. And we were or we were literally inventing kind of the new front every time we would put together a show, whether it was a corporate sort of show or whether it was an artistic endeavor. It seemed like every time we were doing it, it was a science project. We were having to invent our way to success every time.
Exactly.
Whereas now we have this incredible palette of tools to
Yeah.
bring to bear and to use on things. So, my perspective is having watched the industry become mature and become diverse and become just an incredible landscape of technology and innovation and idea. And what I've enjoyed the whole time is that I like to say that I've had sort of career ADD. You know, I've had a hard time focusing. So I worked for a long time on Broadway. I've designed concert tours. I've designed, massive auto shows. I've done lobby installations for big corporations. Basically, I've always been willing to go wherever there was going to be a challenge and wherever someone was coming to me and saying something like, "We haven't ever done something quite like this before, but,"
There you go. Then that's where you show up.
and that's where I show up.
I perfectly understand it. So I understand what you put on the table, definitely. Um, so you walked a little bit the floor of ISC, I suppose. And of course, there's always trends, new technologies, new know-hows. Um, so far, what do you see shaping the future of live experiences and storytelling? Because this is something that, of course, like nowadays, what we share 100% most of the time, 24/7, is a storytelling. How do we tell the story?
I like to look at it this way. I think that, and this has been going on for a little while now, but I think that our industry is moving from a place where we were telling our stories in a rectangle on a wall. And I think now we're telling our stories on the wall and the ceiling and the floor and everywhere. And basically, what audiovisual has become, or what I like to refer to as immersive media or immersive experience, is now not flat. It's a volume. It's a space. And I've taken to calling it placemaking, which is a term that I borrowed from architecture.
Okay.
And that's when you take a space and you give it meaning and means to tell a story, and then a story, and you bring people into it. Now the space has become a place. And
Okay.
it has become a place where people gather and where you can create an experience that will shift them, that will educate them, that will create joy, that will entertain them, that will give them a moment to pause and think, maybe to worship, and this is what I think the big shift has become. We've leapt off of the rectangle and we've become the entire room. And it's everywhere. It's coming from every direction. It's in every place we look. And it's even becoming now extraordinarily interactive and personal to everybody who's experiencing it.
That's so true. And then you add up on top of that all these cross-cultural collaborations. That means all the team that actually participate within the project. It's not that they come only from the States anymore or only Italy, it's like really in such a way you can see all these multicultural collaborations and teams kind of like mixing together and working in a project. Any stories where multicultural collaboration led to an unexpected innovation in your case?
Wow, that's such a really fantastic question. I've always surrounded myself with influences from every place and from every discipline, right? So, I wish he were here with me today. One of my principal collaborators at all times is an incredible artist. His name is Pablo Molina. He's from Mexico. His parents are from Argentina and from France. And he and I have and also my wife and also many of my teams, we've traveled the world to do what we've done. Because again, that question of we've never done this before, but, and that has led us to create enormous installations in Beijing for the Olympics in 2008. It's led us to do shows in the West End of London. It's led us to shipyards in northern Italy, where we've created amazing spaces on cruise ships
Well,
that have then sailed all over the planet. It's led us to the Sphere in Las Vegas, where we've created shows there with people from all over the world and from every discipline making those. Um, so I've had the joy of my career taking me all over the world and working with people from all over the world. And I think that the most important part of that is the different injections of culture and thought and the way of working. And sometimes it's not what you expect. Sometimes it's like, Like I remember I arrived in the first time I arrived in Italy, it was to do the Spoleto Festival, which is in Umbria. It's in the middle of Italy. It's
Mhm.
glorious, you know, sunshiny green center of Italy. And when I got there, our what we were doing was doing this immense production of War and Peace at this 500-year-old opera house, and it was a massive multimedia production.
Yeah.
And we had people from all over the world working on it. And I just remember it was one of my first experiences working internationally and how I came from America where it's like, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And I had to become accustomed to like, you know, the Italians were going to move at the pace they were going to move. And I would come in the morning
And
and I would be ready to go, and my crew would be like, "Oh no, Bob, we get coffee first," and we would go out and
yeah.
we would have some espresso, and then maybe around lunchtime we'd start to look at what we were going to do, but then we would break for lunch, and then we would have a siesta, and by then I would be frantic because I'm like, "How are we ever going to get this done?" But then
Yes.
everyone would come together, and between like 4 and 7 p.m. we would do all of the work for the day, and
Yes.
then we would go out and sing and hear music and enjoy life.
Yeah.
So I think that it's easy for me from being from America. I can find myself being hyper focused on performance and getting it done
Yeah.
and thinking about the results. And
KPIs.
what I've learned in China and what I've learned in Japan with Blue Man Group and what I've learned on tour with, Christina Aguilera in Russia and what I've learned from doing opera in Italy and is that all of these places bring a different style of work. They bring a different level of technology and approach, and that I've gotten the gift of learning from everyone
100%.
something secret, something new, something the way they do it, and now I think it's made me into who I am and how I approach things.
Oh, that's very, very, very true. I can for sure feel your excitement of knowing so many cultures and going around the world. So in so many corners of the world, definitely you can see that in your work. As a creative leader, how do you foster innovation and keep your team motivated? I mean, you have for sure like this multi-culti team, and then you have this, like you said, these pressure environments. Okay, it has to be done. We have a deadline, right? So, as a creative leader, which goes first, the project and the meeting, and on or first the results? I want to see this. How do you measure your success of the project?
So much to unpack there.
Yeah.
Um, Look, I've been 10 months on the job I'm in now, which is I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for ACT Entertainment. Now, ACT Entertainment is a global company that works in live entertainment, and they distribute some of the very biggest brands. So Grand MA lighting consoles, Ayrton, the French moving light fixtures. Of course, we have our Green Hippo media servers, our TV One video processing and engineering side. We cover the full spectrum of products. So when I got invited to do this job, Ben, who is my dear friend and the CEO of the company, he called me up, um, and he knew that I'd had a lot of experience with all of those things, with the whole stack of technology, but in particular with the multimedia side, and that I knew media servers very well. I've used every single one of them
Okay.
several times at least, some of them a lot. And I've designed massive, massive video systems for things like the Olympics, or for massive broadcast, or so. He knew that I had that background as a practicing professional in the field. Now, I've never worked making the equipment before. I've never worked selling or distributing the equipment before. So he said, "Look, I have this problem. I have an amazing company. We have astonishing technologies. I need some decisive leadership for the video division,
Mhm.
right? Which and at the time there was a moment where another generation was leaving, and it
Okay.
was time to bring in some fresh leadership. But he also knew that he had all of these technologies, lighting technologies, sound technologies, video technologies, networking, you name it, all of these different things in the stack. And he said, I feel as though there are so many opportunities if we had someone in the company who could think of what if we connected this to that? What if we used this
So
with
you're the
this?
connector.
I am the connector. So and I come to it not from an engineering background or from a sales background or from a management background. I come to it from being a designer and a creative and a kind of an engineer in the sense that I've had to continually educate myself in the technology to understand the brushes I was painting with.
Yeah.
But now I was being asked to maybe put the brush down and come to the brush factory,
Yeah.
and see what new brushes we could make and how we could use them together. So this was interesting. And when I arrived, with the video product side, there were some amazing technologies there, but I think that they were like they were a little bit lost as to what should we do next or how could we put these together. And so I immediately leapt into learning everything they were doing, how they did it. I had to come up to speed with like we have manufacturing facilities. I spent months going to the factories and going to our research and development facilities and meeting with the developers and the engineers and the people fabricating the equipment, and with the other manufacturers who are supplying our stuff. Pardon me. And just figuring out what were all of the pieces of the puzzle on the table, and then I began to see the connections. And look, from a leadership perspective, one of my belief comes from working in the theater and working on the creative projects I've worked on, which is always a different group of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a new set of people, a new team, people you've met before, people you haven't met before, people coming with brand new ideas, people with old ideas. And always you will have to, on any project, put those together and find the way forward to communicate amongst yourself, to define your goals, to understand where you are in the process, and to make the plan for how you're going to get there so that you can immediately violate the plan, because that's going to happen. But without a
Yeah.
map,
Yeah.
you don't know where to go back to until
Yeah.
you're lost. I also am a big believer in the best leaders create other leaders.
Yes,
So,
definitely. I
what
agree.
some of the first things I did when I arrived at TV1 and Green Hippo, which I very much am directing on a day-to-day basis, the video division,
Yeah.
was to find the key people who were super smart and who were waiting for the moment to step into the light,
Okay.
and then to bring them into the light and to let them express their ideas. So whether it's my director of research and development, Bruce Meldrum, who's this amazing Scotsman, who's gruff but has a heart of gold and runs the team incredibly well, but he needed the space in the room to bring his ideas to the table and to move that research and development team into the direction it needed to go in. Or whether it's my software architect, Zep Morris, who is the genius behind Green Hippo, giving him the room to, not work day to day on the software so much and maybe to dream about what the next features would be. Or, whether it's a particular developer who needed to become the lead developer because he
Mm-hmm.
had clear new ideas and I could see a great leadership potential in him. So it's been about looking around me and finding people who were ready to step into the light, who had great ideas, and then giving them their chance, and then also seeing across this amazing stack of technology where we could put things together. Like, for instance, that we are so closely aligned and working with MA Lighting and Grand MA, which is the most powerful and popular lighting control console on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we have a media server, the Green Hippo, which from its beginnings was made actually to work best in the lighting workflow, which is very different from many other media servers these days,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I said, it would have been easy for me to come into the company and people to say, well, we need to make the Hippo look more like or feel more like some of our competitors, which
Oh.
have a way of working. And I said, but wait a minute. this device is special because it's always been built to work from this workflow. So that led to an opportunity for us, for instance, to put our development team together with the development team at Grand MA and make an incredible user experience using the Grand MA console to control a media server, which which people were stunned by because it becomes immediately simple and it makes it immediately accessible for any lighting programmer or designer on the planet to understand how to use.
Yeah, we were in the stand when we met, because for everybody out there, we recently met, Bob and I he had me at hello because we take a very similar frequencies. But you said this console, the one that was showing in the middle of the room or in the middle of the stand, it looked very simple. In one piece, you could do everything. So you talk pretty much about how easy this could be, and in every show, there's always like a main topic that you hear constantly. Last year was sustainability. This year is how can we make the systems easy for use, easy to understand, and for many verticals.
And I believe in this so strongly. I believe in empowering the creator. I believe in empowering the user. I believe in removing friction and complexity. I talked in the beginning of our podcast about how every show was a science project. It should not be that way anymore. We should be able to use our tools in a way that's intuitive and simple and allows us to get much more quickly from the idea, from the page to the stage.
That's right.
Right.
I like
and
that.
and so and I think that there are many products and many approaches in our industry that frankly are a little bit legacy, and maybe they're even borrowed from a different model. Like why is it, for instance, and this is just a question I ask myself, why do so many people who work doing multimedia in the live environment find themselves tied to a timeline? That's something we borrowed from post-production, from editing,
Okay.
right? And I can understand why, because I am an editor too, and I'm a compositor and an effects person, and I learned all these tools. And I was one of the first people to
Yeah.
say, oh, well, what if we could bring this into the theater, right? But when we get in the venue, whether it's a ballroom, whether it's a trade show hall, whether it's a concert arena, suddenly time doesn't go like this anymore.
No,
It
it
goes
doesn't.
like this.
Yeah,
And we
with
have
with
with
branches.
many branches, and now we have to be nimble, and now we have to be creative, and now I don't want things obstructing my creative expression. I want to say my idea and see my idea, and that doesn't happen spinning open layer after layer after layer on a timeline to find keyframes. It happens with me talking to a lovely artist next to me, and she is on a lighting console, and she can punch 5 buttons and my idea appears. And I realized we have a powerful tool to do that. And have the gift of being in a position to work with Grand MA, to have our amazing technology, and to also, make that in a way that, and this is part of the wonder of my job. Now I figured out a way to connect our lighting console to our media server, and but also have our media server be providing information to the lighting rig, which, when you get right down to it, is just a big collection of pixels,
That's true.
right? What is a moving light these days except a pixel that's emitting a lot of light? And when we put many of them up, suddenly we have what is essentially a fragmented screen, if you want to think that way.
Okay.
So our booth at ISE, for instance, I tried to express on that booth from one place of control, we can express an idea that appears on the screens,
Yeah.
but also in the lights, in
On
the
the floor.
floor with the LED in the floor.
Yeah.
Now we're making an environment.
Now you're telling the story.
We're telling the story, and it's one person with one thought and one means of control, and it is happening so fast you can't believe it.
That's true. Okay, we cut now. So Bob, you said something a very meaningful word for me. You said legacy.
Ah.
I love that word.
Mm.
And all that goes around it. So this emerging talent in this industry clearly marks always a change. Although we have tools or new things coming on, what is true is that we go out as a generation,
Yes.
and the next newies, the young people, the fresh talents come in place. How do you embrace this change? How do you think is the right way to go?
Well, A, it's to accept that change is happening.
Yeah.
There is no going back, and there is no staying where we are. And the new idea is coming faster than we can ever imagine. And these days, faster and faster and faster and faster. Some of the most fascinating things I've seen at ISE have been like at the back of Hall 8 or in the side of like, finding the little innovation corners where I've met just the single people, like the one person band, like the woman or the man who's like, I've built an entire media server on the back of Unreal Engine, or I've created an amazing online production collaboration environment, which people from all over the world can log into and use and create shows together at the same time. I think, we have to accept that change is happening. We have to not be afraid. I find that I have to constantly be educating myself.
Okay.
And I have the gift of like working in different things, and I'm working with different audiences. So my music work and means I get to experience what generations after me are enjoying and liking, and I get to experience that. I have a 21-year-old daughter,
Okay.
and she for me is very much a compass of
Okay.
what's happening culturally.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but from a technical standpoint, um, I am constantly finding myself looking towards what what are the young people using? What is the next generation thinking about? How are they feeling about technology and tools? What are they doing or not doing with AI, for instance? What are they doing or not doing with like gaming engines like Unreal Engine? I think, for instance, if you're in the media server business now, you're probably losing sleep over the idea of selling high dollar boxes that are built to play back clips, right? Because I know from, doing Gwen Stefani at Sphere last year that what we ended up doing was creating entire levels in Unreal Engine, like a game level, and never rendering a bit of it, but just serving it live to the screen
Okay.
and effectively playing the content like a game, in time with the music and linked to the other systems. So we are in a moment of massive disruption. And I said AI just a moment ago, and AI is showing up all over the place. It's showing up in places that feel predictable and a little bit, silly, but it's also showing up in ways that I think are going to get us, for instance, with gear to a point where we plug it in, and the whole idea that we need to spend a day telling the equipment, you're over here and your IP address is this and you're connected to that and these get routed this way and what is the resolution of the screen, and all of that's going to go away because the systems are going to be they are already intelligent. And they're going to be figuring that stuff out for themselves, for itself, for whatever that is, right? And what that allows us as humans to do is to think more about what do we want to create? What message do we want to broadcast? I think it's an amazing time. I have some peers that find themselves maybe a little paralyzed by it, by the
What would be the signs that you kind of sense that, oh, this colleague is not getting it, like my age colleague is not getting it, or is resistant to maybe this younger lady with a very good idea or very good tools to that can develop something faster? How would you tackle that?
I see it in this place first. Are they curious about it? Or are they immediately like, I don't know?
Okay, which is different.
And when I hear I don't know, or doubt, or resistance, then I know that maybe the conversation's in trouble,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
As opposed to, I haven't thought of that before,
Which totally charges a different energy.
right? Tell
Yeah.
me more about that.
Yes.
I don't know about that,
Correct.
but can you tell me about it, right? And that's I think the dividing line, and I think that's the people who in this industry who are going to survive and thrive are the ones who are ready to adapt, ready to embrace the new idea, ready to go in the new direction. It's why, again, I have the gift of the job I have, because in many ways, for much of the equipment we have, we are in a moment of reconceiving it from the ground up. We're at the moment of the blank page, and we're getting to reinvent what we do.
Mm-hmm.
While a lot of my competitors have maybe found their successful model, right? And so they're now very cautious and conservative about, well, we've made a lot of money this way, or we've always done it that way, or and so now they hesitate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you can't hesitate. You have to be ready to take the step forward, and you have to be ready to hand over the decision, the moment to have the idea to the next generation. You have to welcome it, and you have to and allow them into the light, and allow them to guide forward, because now it's their time, and now in every way it's a time that it's not going to get any slower,
No,
and so it's not going to be comfortable,
neither.
right? And so you have to be
So
ready
it's
to
change.
you have to embrace discomfort
Yes.
and embrace curiosity,
Yeah.
and just be ready to flex.
That's nice. It's nice to have a young soul that actually sees that way, because we need a lot of that. Because you said earlier, model sometimes, to me, they feel, let's follow the model, let's follow this structure that has worked before.
Mm-hmm.
But that for me is a rigid uh, ticking, is a rigid, it is not moving. And the creativity moves and changes and is a morphological, always different. So for me, a model, it would always swift.
Models are built to break,
Better said.
or to be broken.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they break on their own through circumstance in the march of time, or whether we look at them and decide to break them so that we can try something else.
That's correct. So we're hitting to the last road, the fastest road of the closure of this podcast. Very, 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 very interesting everything you've said, Bob, so far. And now I'm gonna throw to you some quick fire questions. So you have to be kind of like tuck tuck. Exactly. So, what's your favorite piece of tech right now?
My favorite piece of tech right now is definitely Unreal Engine.
Okay.
And you can see it all over the floor at ISE, whether it's new dashboard systems for vehicles, or I mentioned people at the back of Hall 8. Prismax is back there. They are the designers of the Tomorrowland Festival. And what they've done is figured out a way to get rid entirely of having media servers and having video processing gear, and they run it all through Unreal with tools they've built in Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think, and I'm witnessing content creators. I also saw another product on the floor at ISE. It's called Carbon for Unreal, and it's by this amazing guy named David Perkins. I mentioned it before, and it is an online way for creators to come in and collaborate on a show from all over the globe, but see their show, visualize it, play with it, and have it be accurate, and then take out of it actual programming. So Unreal Engine.
That's very cool. Okay, next. Most inspiring venue or project you've worked on, apart from Sphere, because everybody says Sphere.
And so that's an easy answer, although it's not an easy place to work at all.
Yeah.
Just because it's so complex. But I'd have to say that my favorite venue, my favorite thing, and I'm going to limit myself to recently. Gosh, I guess it would have been me busking video on Resloom at Yankee Stadium for Hip Hop 50, and being able to do Run DMC's last show
Which
ever.
which year was this?
This was 2 years ago now.
Okay.
So, I think of anything after the pandemic as recent. So
The
that,
world swifted and changed.
but for me, for a boy from the northeast of the United States, to be in one of the biggest sports stadiums in New York City, and to be doing, Legends of Hip Hop, and to be doing Run DMC's last show, and to be literally, I busked that on Resloom, which is a kind of a media server, but it's been built for festivals and EDM work. And I love performing still. I still love operating a show.
Okay.
So for me, that was a very big high point.
You like to press the button.
I love to press the buttons. Yes.
Okay, next, coffee or tea?
Coffee. I'm from Seattle.
But you said that you also lived part-time in
I'm
England.
half the time in London, and I do admit
Uh,
I am trying
okay.
to learn more about tea and to become accessible to tea, but it's hard to take the espresso out of my baby.
Oh, yay. Okay. I fully agree. I'm drinking tea now because everybody in ISC got kind of a little sick. So for the throat, I'm having tea now, but you're having a nice drink there. We also have coffee if you want.
Oh, it's like
Yes, too late, that's true. Well, anyways, next two last questions would be one thing you wish you know at the start of your career.
say yes to everything. Say yes to everything. And never, ever, ever have it be about the money. I
Wow.
wish that in the beginning of my career I could have been braver. And every time someone offered me an opportunity to do something, and I maybe I would think that it wasn't the thing I wanted to do, or to try fashion shows, try corporate meetings, try theater, try public art, try dance, try filmmaking, try all of it. And then as your career progresses, you should say no more and more often
Ah.
until finally you're in your path.
Okay. That's a nice, like kind of like filter it like so.
In the beginning, do everything. And as you get further along in your career, do only the things that you love with the people that you love that you want to do that will make a difference.
That's a very nice. That's also for new generations a good tip. And last question would be if ChatGTP would be like the magic that will give you a wish, and you say, "Hey, ChatGTP, I want to know the answer of this. What would be the question?"
Oh my goodness. And I ask ChatGPT these kind of questions quite often, actually. I'm a huge user of AI tools and
But then
I
that actually will materialize.
yeah,
That actually will happen.
I think you know, I because I could ask it cosmic questions or I could ask it very practical questions. I think I would ask it to um I would ask it to surprise me.
Oh,
I would ask it to, what can I do today that will make my day unconventional, or maybe show me something that will be random joy that I would never otherwise find. And I did that. Like last Sunday I did that. I was thinking, I want to go to church, but I don't want to go to church. I wanna find something that'll feed my soul and maybe be musical and maybe be scientific and maybe be something like worship. And so ChatGPT sent me to see a concert by an orchestra in London that was a mix of Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, and readings from Douglas Adams, who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is absurdist comedy, and also a lecture from an astronomer about how we're learning about new planets. And then at the end, we all sang an oratorio together in German.
oh my God.
And ChatGPT told me to do that. So I got my I
That's
got my day I
amazing.
got my day in church that I wanted that wasn't
Yeah,
church.
somehow, yeah. Okay, wow. It's amazing how your brain ticks. Really, it's been a very nice ride so far. But I always like to close these podcasts with a little closure surprise or surprise closure. Unfortunately, Mark couldn't make it to the studio, but I figured something out because we work also with words.
Mm.
So I found this kind of randomly today. And I wrote it down for you. So I just want you to read it out loud and then just tell me what you think about that.
Design is a silent ambassador of your brand. Paul Rand. Oh my goodness. Look at you quoting the masters, right?
I thought you will like this one.
Yeah, this is a great one. And design is the means of communication that speaks to the soul and to the heart. You know, design isn't easily defined in a word, and design isn't easily defined in the mathematical formula of a throw distance for an optical ratio for a lens for a projector. Design is what results in the feeling that we get. And so I think that what Paul was talking about here in design being the silent ambassador of your brand is design is the thing that is going to tug at people's hearts. And that is the most powerful thing a brand can do or can achieve
Yeah.
is that level of care and engagement. So,
Yeah.
oh, what a
So that's a mandala. So when you're like in stress, you can also color it.
I love that, and I'm very prone to this. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
You're welcome. So we make the round.
Okay, you can do it now.
So Bob, thank you very much for today's podcast. We definitely had a blast. I'm gonna go there around the desk and hug you for being here with me today. I really enjoyed
Thank you,
it.
Valentina. This has been a joy.
And we'll see us then tomorrow at IC.
Yes.